Hello. Welcome to Cross Culture 365 and Community Social Justice Atlanta. I hope that what the people that we bring forward this evening will give you a lot of information, and I hope you enjoy the discussions with my colleagues. The first one that I will bring in is Miss Pam Bettis, the Solicitor General of Henry County.
Good evening. I'm Pam Bettis, and like Tasha said, I am the Solicitor General of Henry County. And Solicitor General is just a fancy word for prosecutor. My office handles all of the misdemeanor, traffic, and code cases in Henry County. And I hope that we can give as much information as we can during this session and make sure that you know my contact information so that you can reach me. My door, my email, and my phone are always open to the public.
I next would like to bring into the conversation Solicitor General Donna Coleman Stribling of the DeKalb County Solicitor General's Office. Donna.
Good evening, and thank you for having me here this evening. I am the solicitor for DeKalb. I do the same job that the solicitor from Henry does. We prosecute the misdemeanors that happen in this county, and many of which end up being in our diversion programs or get to some other type of resolution. But I will tell you in DeKalb, we have about 13,000 cases averaging a year. About a third of those are domestic violence in nature. So we see everything from code, ordinance cases, all the way up to DUIs, some vehicular homicides, and domestic violence cases. Thank you again for having me. And certainly we are here to answer any questions you have this evening and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to bring in Miss Andrea Allaby. She is the Chief Assistant for the Fulton County Solicitor General, Keith Gamage.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Andrea Allaby, and I serve in the capacity of Chief Assistant Solicitor General for the Honorable Keith Gamage in Fulton County State Court, the heartbeat of our state. We handle a great number of cases and primarily focus our resources, time, and attention on public safety cases, including firearm offenses, driving under the influence, and domestic violence cases. They comprise the majority of the cases that we expend our resources on. It is truly an honor to be here, and I look forward to any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Andrea. And last but not least, Mr. Charles Brooks, the Solicitor General of Clayton County.
Good evening. My name again is Charles Brooks. I'm Solicitor General here in Clayton County. Glad to round out this panel. And DA Mosley, thank you for moderating this panel, and thank you, Cross Cultures, for hosting this forum. I'm looking forward to a spirited conversation, and I guess let the conversation begin.
All right. Now, the beauty is I've worked with basically four of you guys. Only Donna's the only one. And we're all prosecutors here. But tell me, how has COVID impacted the last 2 years being in this COVID pandemic? How has that impacted the operation of your office? And since we started off with Pam, let's start off with Donna.
Wow. Well, COVID has, first of all, I think that it's brought in some new issues. For instance, let me just say street racing. I think before COVID, we knew that it was out there. It was certainly, there were cases, but we did not see the impact and the numbers of cases that we see now. COVID has also created a backlog of cases. And unfortunately, that means that the judicial system isn't able to move those cases as quickly as possible. We quickly maneuvered to using Zoom and having this type of contact in order to keep everyone safe. But that didn't change the fact that many of our cases have to be resolved in person. Many of our cases can only be resolved by trial. And when you have that type of situation, we are now seeing ourselves trying to dig out of this backlog and get to resolving those cases that were from 2019 or 2020, and those are domestic violence in nature. And so we see it, and we've seen it everywhere. And it will, and I imagine that it is affecting the world in the same way it's affecting the judicial system.
Ms. Allaby, how has Fulton County worked to get their backlog, deal with their backlog from COVID? Because I believe before COVID hit, there was a slight backlog. Mr. Gamage inherited a backlog, and then COVID hits. So how has it affected Fulton County?
COVID has affected each office greatly. Our office, with the amount of cases, the number of cases that we have, it has had a tremendous effect on us. We've tried to make the best of it. We've utilized audiovisual technology in order to have as many hearings as we could virtually. We have had hybrid style hearings in which individuals who were uncomfortable or unable to come to the courthouse, we still want to resolve their matters in the most efficient way and still give them their day in court and to have to get them justice as quickly as possible. But it has definitely created an opportunity for us to ensure that we are focused on those cases which impact the community mostly, those public safety cases. Like I said earlier, we are laser focused on ensuring that the public is safe. We are doing what we can to dedicate our resources to those types of cases. And we are ensuring that we have second chance opportunities for those individuals where it is necessary, and that we can have a full circle approach and a holistic approach to justice in our community, keeping COVID in mind, making sure that people are safe, reducing that COVID footprint in the courthouse where we can. So we have truly tried to make the best of it and trying to triage where we can.
Okay. And to the audience, I completely forgot to introduce basically what the show is about is the prosecutors working together and the solutions that they've come up with to solve some of the crimes and to make things life better in their individual communities, but at the Atlanta community as a whole. So with that being said, Mr. Brooks, Solicitor General Brooks, I'm gonna come to you now. What solutions have you come up with or implemented because of COVID that COVID has forced you to do?
Well, I'll take this opportunity to brag on DA Mosley. I had a great opportunity to inherit an office that had no backlog. I think we all can agree that COVID has created a significant backlog throughout the judiciary and has forced all of us to use technologies in different ways. In our office, we've gone to a digital platform where everybody's equipped with the necessary equipment to operate if we need to go virtual tomorrow. That was something that we had never had to do before. Everybody in this office has laptops, cell phones, and the necessary equipment to work virtually. We have several different locations within our office that are equipped to accommodate victims and witnesses who don't have any capacity to do things digitally from their home, where they can come to the office and do things digitally in the office. Additionally, we've implemented new programs. We've expanded our diversion program to include other cases cases that we can resolve outside of the normal traditional pathway of trial. And we also have tried to implement what's called a fast track program, where a incarcerated person can resolve their case quicker than where when they come in through magistrate court. We can go ahead and give them a recommendation and try to close the case out directly from magistrate court as soon as we give them a recommendation and they bind the case over. So we've done a number of different things and still contemplating doing other things to try to expedite and reduce the backlog. I will say, as a judiciary, we've all had to work together and over communicate what works best for us to actually get these numbers down. The expression is that the wheels of justice churn slow, but with this COVID, they particularly churn slow.
Okay. Solicitor General Bettis, the same question.
Well, I can echo a lot of what my colleagues have said, that we had to quickly introduce technology into the criminal justice system. But we saw a benefit from introducing technology. We're going to continue Zoom here in Henry County because it makes sense not to have someone drive back from Ohio or Florida or Iowa or even as far as Vietnam. We had a young lady from Vietnam appear via Zoom for a traffic ticket. When you have people that are out of state that want to have an opportunity to be heard in court, Zoom court or Microsoft Teams is a way that they get a chance to be heard and not invest thousands of dollars to come back for a stop sign ticket, even though a stop sign ticket may be incredibly important to them and their position. We also had to take, we had to have some frank conversations with ourselves here at the office and with law enforcement, and say when we are losing members of our community across the state, we have people that are struggling just to stay alive, stay afloat, stay in their homes, stay in their marriages. We had to prioritize cases, and we decided to label those as the COVID cases. So we had developed a special stamp so that we could go through each case. And if we had someone that had a minor traffic ticket and they didn't have any history or the case allowed, we would stamp that with our special red stamp for us to remember why we gave, any certain deal or dismissal due to COVID restraints. You really had to prioritize when our country's trying to stay alive. How important are some of the more minor traffic tickets? We did see an increase in some domestic violence cases, and that goes to explain why my dad spent so much time working and in the shop, because even when you love somebody, it's hard to be stuck in the house for so long with them. And we did see an uptick in these really high speeding on the interstate over 100, which was shocking. And I'm not sure if that's part and parcel of being stuck at home for so long, but the technology has been a massive boost. And as Charles said, we saw a uniting of prosecutors and the bench across the state to do all we could to continue to provide a service to the citizens, both victims and those charged. So we're lucky not to have a backlog here. We're already trying jury trials that are 21 and 22s. Some of the latest cases and jury trials coming up next month are 2020s, and that's been the benefit of technology.
Okay. Now, I made an assumption that people know what solicitor generals do. And for the audience, solicitor generals handle all the misdemeanor cases. So that's anything from a traffic violation, your county code violations, to domestic violence, DUIs, vehicular homicide, second degrees. Their budget is 100% county. They get their money from the board of commissioners. And so, to you, I know how it is, and I know how it was. My budget is split between the state and the county, and both are kind of stingy. How has that been? With We're looking at right now a possible, we got recessions, we got inflation. Um, Everybody is pulling. How has it been in the last 3 to 4 years to get done what you need to get done with your county budget? Has your county budget increased or decreased real quickly? Let's start with Miss Allaby.
I will say that it has been very challenging to in the time of the great resignation to get done the things that need to be done and to ensure justice is served for the literally thousands upon thousands of cases that we have in Fulton County, and I'm sure the surrounding counties have felt that as well. COVID had a kind of another effect on people other than the what we saw with health concerns. People really took an opportunity to look at their lives and decide whether or not they wanted to stay in the positions that they were in. The Great Resignation, it has been since 2020. It's been a time in which people have really thought about going into business for themselves if they wanted to stay where they were in their current roles and positions. And they really took the time to evaluate where they are in their careers. And it has been very, very challenging. Prosecution is not a glamorous job. A lot of people don't go into it for the money. We certainly don't go into it for the fame. A lot of times we deal with victims who do not wish for us to prosecute their cases and want more than anything to have the event that brought them to court to have never have taken place. So we are not popular to say the least. So it has been a great challenge for us. As far as our budget, Fulton County, we are a large county. We have 15 cities that comprise our county, and our county budget, it is strong. It is a strong county budget, but we have faced challenges nonetheless. Our backlog, the addition of the cases that were created due to COVID, the prosecutors that we have now and the support staff, it never seems like enough because everybody wants their case and controversy heard immediately so that they can move on with the next steps of their lives. So
Right.
challenging to put it mildly, but we are just, doing the best that we can.
And you probably saw several of us laugh when they said that they had they're talking about their budget, and it's kind of like it's always an inside joke between us. So we're going to let the public in on this. Mr. Brooks, go ahead and explain how that Fulton County budget has been so nice to the rest of us here. Uh,
I will gladly do that. As I frequently have conversations with our board of commissioners, in public comment and in private conversations, our neighbors to our north, to our east, and to our west, and to our south, have outpaced us in a significant way as relates to compensation of our critical staff. In order for any prosecution office to work, any solicitor general's office, any district attorney's office, you need prosecutors. And with the great resignation, I think Chief Allaby was absolutely spot on. It's more of a great reassessment. And so people are reassessing their values or reassessing what's important to them. And for a lot of folks, prosecution or the amount of energy, the amount of effort that it takes to prosecute these cases, and the compensation do not compare. And so, like many industries, the legal industry is no different in hemorrhaging valuable and critical staff, from lawyers to advocates to investigators. There's a number of law enforcement officers and there's a number of law enforcement officers who've left law enforcement completely because right now, I think it was said previously that law enforcement is not popular right now. And so for offices, solicitors' offices who are wholly dependent on the county to fund them, we have to have a friendly board of commissioners who understand the nature of the work, who understand what's needed to get the work done, and completely buys into the idea that public safety includes the judiciary. A lot of times what happens is our board of commissioners, they will fund or they'll overfund and fund first responders, and it's needed. Absolutely. Please don't misconstrue what I'm saying. First responders do need additional money, but when they fund the first responders, they forget to fund the judiciary. And so on the one side, you'll have a 20% increase for first responders and a 0% increase for courts. And so you start losing on the judiciary side.
Yeah.
And what it leads to is a catch and release type of system, because you don't have the capacity to prosecute the cases that are coming in.
Right. Miss Bettis, Miss Coleman Stribling, how have y'all dealt with people moving because of money? Because I know, we all look at the same thing and we see counties to our north, a little bit northern than Fulton County, paying those salaries, especially now that PDs are getting paid, starting off at 105 and higher. How have y'all handled those situations? I'll let Miss Bettis go first.
Well, one time I cried when I lost a fella that went to Atlanta for double the salary because he was just, beyond being a great prosecutor, he was just a good person. His parents did a fine job with him. But it is frustrating because, this is great work. We provide a service to the community. We're essential to our citizens. And, I understand it takes money. You can't expect someone to go to law school and have the kind of debt they have and make, $55,000-$60,000 a year. But, it takes time to explain that to your commissioners and your leaders in the community. And I can say that even though my commissioners may have differences amongst each other at times, they're very supportive of our courts and our public safety. And our county manager is a very strong county manager, and she's just as supportive. She's enlisted the help of officials. She's gotten an administrator, court administrator to advise. But I'll be honest, it's rough. It's disheartening. But you just keep pushing through, and we keep bringing up Fulton County and using them as our example. So,
Ms. Coleman Stribling?
I think you hit it on the nail, Pam. We echo the same sentiments, and I'm lucky to have a board of commissioners who's very supportive as well. They've always been supportive, and have done a good job of providing funding to the office. And the other thing is this constant reminder that, remember what was going on with George Floyd and the protests and everything came out of the pandemic. And maybe because there was just that period of time for people to kind of pay attention, right, to what was going on in the world. And so many people see our positions, certainly as a kind of an arm of law enforcement. So even our law school students who are graduating are just simply not as interested in going into this arena. And it is the idea that we have to constantly have these conversations about how justice is served on all sides.
Yeah.
I've spent most of my career as a prosecutor, and I believe that it is truly our job, because we have a lot of power and we have a lot of opportunity to make the right decisions before a case even enters a courtroom,
Yeah.
or is accused. And so I'm saying all of that to say, while yes, I do exactly what you guys do. I tell people, look at what's going on in Fulton County. By the way, part of Atlanta is also in DeKalb County. And I like to remind people of that. So we see certainly the same concerns and same issues. But I will say that it is always that reminder, because the jobs that we do, you'll never get paid enough
Right.
for the type of work and the type of time and efforts that you have to put into these roles. We hope that we get some people who really are dedicated to the community, dedicated to this work, and we do our best to train them. And I know that one of the things that we were able to do during COVID is to actually have people in the office working who have yet to either take the bar or pass the bar, and just try to train them with some of our more seasoned attorneys,
Okay.
and so they can get those opportunities.
All right. Now, I know we all five of us, well, four out of the five of us here, every 4 years, we are accountable to the citizens. We have to run, we raise funds, and we get out there and bang on the doors and shake hands and kiss babies. Well, we probably won't be doing it after with COVID, but we that's what we're all elected. Now, going back to when you were first elected, I'm quite sure that everybody had some type of initiative that you said, okay, Fulton, Clayton, DeKalb, Henry County, this is what we're going to do. This is what I'm seeing out here in the community. And this is what I want to do. What was an initiative, and make this real quick, a first initiative that you started, and now something that you might see now that your community needs after being in office for a period of time, because everybody's been in at least a term or so. So we're going to start. I can't remember where we start. Mr. Brooks, we're going to start with you.
I had the great wisdom to seek counsel from Solicitor General of the Year, Donna Coleman Stribling, who initiated a unit called the Quality of Life Unit. That was something that I wanted to start in Clayton County as related to county ordinances. As I attend a number of the Board of Commissioner meetings, a lot of the issues of our citizens relate to county ordinance. And most of those are handled through the county attorney's office, unless they seek a trial, at which point it's found over to solicitor's office. But with the beginning of my current term and onset of COVID, we have not been able to materialize. It is still something that is in the making. There's still active conversation, and it's something that I am committed to seeing through to fruition.
Ms. Coleman Stribling.
2019, we started we call it kind of like a unit. It's hashtag not in my decab. It is where we placed an advocate as well as an investigator at our precincts, sitting right next to the police to address the misdemeanor domestic violence cases. Because what we were finding is that our victims were not um, able to get to the resources and the contacts that they needed at the time that they needed it. You see, on misdemeanor cases, and of course, you know this, DA Mosley, um, by the time an individual is arrested and the case actually gets to an office, uh, it might be 24, 48 hours before they're out on bond. And so by then, it's likely that they're back home with the victim. They're back in a honeymoon phase, and the victim may be recanting, and this cycle starts again. And so what we found was having an advocate and an investigator at the precincts to not only assist the police officers in kind of talking to our victims and providing resources and just making contact so they know how this court system will work. It just allowed us to have earlier contact with them. And so it was something that we were given money back in I said 2019, but it actually started in about 2018. We were given money by our CEO, Michael Thurman, as well as one of our commissioners, Marita Davis Johnson. And we've been able to place them both at South Precinct and East Precinct. And I'm very proud of that because during COVID, we saw an uptick in domestic violence cases.
Ms. Bettis.
Well, when I first took office back in 2018, some of the first things I wanted to do was address marijuana cases. I come into a circuit that was a very stiff circuit. The bench, as you know, we had judges on the bench for 20 plus years, and it was very rigid in their view of misdemeanor and traffic cases. So the first thing I did was fight with my chief judge to change course on our marijuana cases because these are misdemeanor marijuana cases, less than an ounce. The other thing I wanted to do is hire more defense attorneys as prosecutors. When I started my law career, I came here as an assistant solicitor and had the opportunity to work with DA Mosley. And then I went out in private practice. And I had come from law enforcement. I was a police officer for 15 years. And private practice and defense work was a life changing. It was a path that I know the good Lord put me on for a reason. And so I have made it every effort I could to hire former defense attorneys so that you have a rounded view of cases. And then I wanted to address discovery quickly. We were still doing the old mail pickup discovery. That's a very slow process. And as a defense attorney, when you have clients that come in and retain you or they're appointed, they want to know about the case and you can't tell them much without discovery. So we began emailing discovery, scanning and emailing. And then I wanted to do something about videos. As DA Mosley will remember, a former solicitor was adamant that we would not give videos out. And I wanted to change that. We began emailing videos, copying them, and doing all we could we've always had an open file policy, but, you got to come up here. And then, giving these videos out has a chance to, if there's a problem with the case, they need to have time to view the video and not just 30 minutes in the office and then leave. So I changed that policy. And it wasn't the most popular with the old guard, but it's really made a difference. And I think that is a true open door, open file policy.
Okay. Ms. Allaby, Fulton County, Mr. Gamage is always the inventive one. What did he start and anything new on the horizons that he's planning for his next term?
So I will say that one of the first things that Mr. Gamage did when he took office was to have the expungement of record restriction unit created. He was one of the first in the states to do that and to reduce recidivism by creating job opportunities for individuals, to open up housing opportunities and other opportunities for individuals due to clearing up their criminal record. As since he's been in office, he has really been focused on reducing the repeat offender problem that we have and expanding access to resources for victims of crimes. And one of the ways that he's done that is by ensuring that cases are accused within 24 hours of arrest for those individuals who have been in custody, who were booked into custody. So we have a unit that gets up before the sun comes up. We get those cases accused and onto a calendar the same day within 24 to 48 hours of arrest, so that we can provide resources to victims of crime immediately while they are in the greatest need for those resources. We connect an advocate with those individuals within 24 hours, and we are looking to expand that with our strategic partnerships with our 15 cities in Fulton County, so that we can get people exactly what they need, whether it be housing, employment, advocates for those victims of domestic violence and other crimes. And that has been something that has been a passion of Mr. Gamage's.
Okay. Now, guys, I know we all see it. The Solicitor General Bettis tapped on it a little bit about the marijuana, misdemeanor amounts of marijuana. I know when I was in SG, that took up a big caseload. And I'm not going to ask y'all where you stand on whether legalization of marijuana or not, but I wonder, since COVID, since the times, real quick, have you seen an uptick in those tickets or arrests, or has it kind of gone away because of, the hemp laws and the marijuana growing licenses that they're going to give out and stuff like that? I wonder what's going on with that. Let's start with you, Ms. Coleman Scribbling.
We've seen a reduction, and I'll say that because number one, a lot of DeKalb County is a lot of cities now. In the past, for many, many years, it was, everyone was under the county. Now there are a lot of cities, things are being handled in the city. But outside of that, I think that law enforcement also changed direction. When you talk about the arrest of an individual with less than an ounce of marijuana, and they saw a need to kind of change how they were dealing with those type of arrests, and then kind of focus on what are some of our bigger issues. Now, granted, we still handle them on a case by case basis. We certainly look to see if it's attached to something else, perhaps a DUI or something else that may cause a bigger concern. But I can wholeheartedly say we've seen a reduction.
Is that about the same for the other three? Would y'all agree that you've seen a reduction in that? Now tell me, have y'all gotten together, because y'all know we all meet, DA's Association, SG's Association. Have y'all, since we all border one another, have y'all had an opportunity to talk and say, okay, I'm seeing this trend over here, and are you seeing this trend, to work together to try to see if you can alleviate or see what your partner's doing to try to stop crime? Have y'all had those fruitful discussions to try to see how you can help one another? Okay, I see. Have y'all? I'm seeing something saying, how would it impact your county if legalizing marijuana is passed? I see that question has popped up. So, Ms. Betts, we're going to ask, how would it affect Henry County if marijuana is passed? If that law passes, how will it affect your county?
Well, you'd like to think they'd slow down on the interstate, even though Henry County's known to be the place where traffic stops. You'd like to think if they're pleasantly inebriated and at home safe, that they won't be speeding on the interstate at over 100. But our case count for marijuana cases it's dipped quite a bit, and I echo Donna with the same type of sentiment from law enforcement, that you've really had to prioritize, and violent crime and the dangerous driving is their focus here in Henry County. So as far as countywide, I would hope that it would make lots of people happier. It's supposed to, the marijuana from the 70s. But I don't know that the case count here in the office would be changed much. I hope that helps some.
Mr. Brooks, what you say?
Um, I think there has to be two different distinctions. There has to be the distinction has to be made between decriminalizing it and legalizing it. What a lot of cities are doing are they are decriminalizing marijuana, meaning that they're treating it more like a civil money penalty. So in one sense that you issued a citation or something like a citation, you pay a fine. Versus legalizing it, there's no repercussion. There's no civil money penalty. There's no, you just to decriminalize it just means that you're not being arrested for it. And so I think the current trend is that most of your cities are moving towards a decriminalization. I'm unaware of any place in Georgia that actually has legalized it. Um, but there is a number of places that are decriminalizing. Now, as it relates to the question of how would it impact Clayton County, I think numbers wise, I would agree with what my colleague said. The dip will go even further. I mean, the numbers have already gone down significantly because of the allocation of resources. Law enforcement agencies are focused more on violent offenses, violent crimes. There's been an uptick throughout the metro area of violent offenses, violent crime, and as it relates to traffic enforcement, is if there is a marijuana arrest, it's related to impaired driving, and so I wouldn't add or subtract anything that my colleague said as it relates to how it might impact Clayton County.
All right, Miss Allaby.
I echo what the Solicitor Generals have stated. I don't know that it would really make that much of a difference in our case count because most of the marijuana offenses that we see are connected to other offenses. In Atlanta, you guys see us on the news all the time. Atlanta Police Department and our surrounding cities have so much to deal with when it comes to enforcing the law. And our office is so very focused on public safety cases and those offenses that truly have a great impact on other individuals in our community. So it is rare and few and far between that we see a citation or a criminal warrant for marijuana only. So we would continue to do what we're doing and focus those resources on ensuring that individuals, that the public is in fact safe.
Okay. Now, most of you guys have known me for years, all four of you, and I forget numbers. So those HB bills and SB bills, I completely. All I know is I hate going down to the gold dome. But this past year, there's been a push the last couple of years to increase the minor's age to 18 to go all the way, and so that way anybody under 18 and under would come over to juvenile court. What would be the impact for you guys as Solicitor Generals? Have you looked at if that bill, because it didn't pass this year, but I fully expect it to come back up next year, next session. Have y'all looked at what the impact would be for your cases? Because I know for me, I have. How would it impact your office? And so I cannot remember who I started off with the last time. So I'm going to go with Ms. Bettis because you've got this smirk on your face.
Well, it would decrease our case count for some of the traffic citations that involved, 17-year-old drivers. I think, theoretically, probably technically, it would make it a little easier on parents. 17, 18 is a difficult age. You're a senior in high school most of the time, and that's an adjustment period for kids that age. They're ready for all of the freedoms of 18, 19, and 20, but the responsibilities are quite scary. So I think it would help our citizens in a way, but it would decrease our case count because juvenile court would then be handling those citations. I don't have, a stat right off the top of my head about how many 17-year-olds get tickets, but you can imagine they're the younger drivers, and they're going to have the car wrecks, they're going to have the tickets. So I think it has its benefits. particularly for parents and kids at that age. It kind of
Okay.
streamlines it.
Anybody else want to chime in on that? Anybody something different than what Pam's saying? Do y'all pretty much feel the same way to be a drop in your numbers? Okay. I have a question. If you had the ideal world, you had all the money, not no ARPA money, because we all understand we got to explain all that ARPA money that they're doling out. It ain't a whole lot down here in Clayton. But with the four of y'all, if you had the money and the resources, what would you like to do between the four counties? Henry, DeKalb, Fulton, and Clayton. What could you see? What type of partnership could you see to maybe keep our kids out of our courthouses? I know this is throwing y'all right there on the spot, but I'd just like to hear some ideas because I think our citizens would like to hear, you know, real quick. Andrea, I'm just gonna mess with you because I'll always mess with you when we work together.
No problem. So I would like to see a formalized program within the school systems that really educates the youth on some of the impact of their youthful indiscretions and decisions that they make so we can see less of them within our respective justice systems. It's always challenging when we get those individuals who are younger in age and who really can't appreciate the effect of their decisions. And we find ourselves racking our brains to figure out what is justice based on this particular set of facts and circumstances. So if money was not an object, I would love to partner with the surrounding counties to have a formalized program where we could introduce the youth to the criminal justice system in the most positive light before they are cited, arrested, or in custody for a substantial period of time. We could educate them. We can introduce them to law enforcement in the most positive light. And we could really give them a perspective that they don't typically have until they are in our justice system. And that takes a lot of money, buy-in from school boards and resources. But in my mind, in a perfect world, we would really give them an advantage and to educate them on things that a lot of us wish we would have had when we were younger and in those teen years.
Okay.
I
Mr.
can chime
Brooks.
in. I would love to see a multi-county domestic violence task force where we're pooling our funds and resources to really tackle domestic violence across jurisdictional lines. Here in Clayton, we have a transient population. And so it's not uncommon for us to have a case that might have a parallel case in Fulton or DeKalb. Now we communicate with other offices, but I would love to be able to pool resources to actually attack domestic violence in a joint effort.
Okay. Miss Coleman Stribling.
I would like to, and now I'm about to show my age. At the age of 16 or even 15, actually, get back to some type of big program with all of the jurisdictions that would address driving for teens. And I only say that because it's an introduction, right? That's usually where you might see them in the first court appearance. But if you talk to them about what happens on the road with these cell phones, with with alcohol, marijuana, you name it, distracted drivers, what we're seeing on our roads and our young people is scary.
Yeah.
And even this weekend, seeing what's happening, we're hearing about not only one person passing away, but it's 2 and 3 people passing away in the car. And Pam said 4.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying those, if we can catch them, right, before they get into this court system. And I think that one of the ways we can do it is going back to required driving courses, required education, and getting all of that back to a course, a learning, and something that we can do throughout, in not just our jurisdictions, but throughout the state of Georgia.
Okay. Pam, what would you like to see?
I think if I had all the money in the world, I would like to create, a dynamic duo or wonder twin power team across the metro area that goes, on the quarter or semester system, and you touch on driving, dating violence, sexting, the things that kids are doing without thinking, that don't realize how that it's criminal and how it can impact their lives forever. And go to the different counties. I would love to be able to go to Fulton to some of their schools and then have a prosecutor, and their Wonder Twin come to Henry, so that you get a taste of the metro population, and you get the difference, the different teaching styles, but something to give kids, like Donna said, and Andrea said, the driving, something to address, domestic violence and dating violence. And so that you hit it on that quarter system, and, it's a powerhouse of instructors. Um, you know,
Well, it sounds like, it's instead of the Wonder Twins, it's going to have to be the Wonder Quadruplets here. Y'all just the power circle, the fist bumps, and I just remember that cartoon. Everybody, one would seemed like always turned into water.
Water. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the other one, eagle. Yes, Audrey, you can laugh because we're old as dirt. But
I would like to say I'm
Justice League. Come on, Donna, we're right there together. The Justice League. When it comes out, the second one, I'll be there. But, we're beginning to come to the end. We have just a few more minutes. And I kind of, I don't know about you guys, but Charles and I have a good relationship. We talk and we try to support one another. Do you have that same? I ain't gonna ask that. The bench, because the judges control everything. Everybody always thinks that we control when stuff comes up. Has anybody been pulling their hair out during COVID? Charles, you ain't got much to pull, bro. It's tweezers. But has anybody else been going great? Because, I know you guys, and I know some of our personalities are similar. Like, we just take stuff and we want to run with it. Have you guys been real quick hitting any roadblocks, and how have you been maneuvering to get over the roadblocks? Because you might be helping each other out. Real quick, Pam, you get like a minute.
Well, luckily, quickly, our chief judge that was here at the time and our other judges welcomed my participation in preparing and setting up for COVID. So I've been really lucky in that vein. So,
okay, Donna.
Initially, it was difficult to get some people who had been on the bench for a while to kind of transition to, okay, we have these really nice computers and all these programs. So that was a little bit of a transition. That was a little bit difficult, but I will say I'm lucky. I have some wonderful judges, and in fact, we did online case resolution, and we did that together when we started talking about our traffic citations. So we found a way to come together, and we work well.
Okay, Charles.
Our chief judge was very responsive to some of our requests in trying to ensure that we manage COVID in a responsible way. I think the only thing now that we're on the backside of COVID is that there's kind of a race to catch up the backlog, and so I'm very responsible to try not to burn folks out, where the court is really just trying to grind through the cases. And I understand the need for it, but I just want to. We're trying to find a balancing spot.
Gotcha, Andrea.
We work well with our bench. We have been coming up with the best processes and procedures to address the backlog, to address the new cases that are coming in, to keep the things that work with regard to technology, and to continue to push forward to serve the citizens of Fulton County in the best way possible.
I so love y'all because everybody gave that politically correct answer. Nobody else's hair has turned gray. All right, we're getting to the end. So what I want to do is give each one of you 2 to 3 minutes to wrap up about any initiative, and speak directly to your community, to your county. So we're going to start with you, Miss Bettis, because you got the B in your name. We're going to start with you, and you get to go first. 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes.
Well, the one thing I want is to be available at every turn that I can for the community. I feel like I have a role as an educator as well as a minister of justice. And part of that is being available, making myself available to parents so I can, stopgap some of the worry they may have if their child is charged with a crime. Not necessarily alleviating the child's worry or the young adult's worry, but making sure parents know that we have things like PTI, that we can give your child or your young adult jail a second chance and clear, restrict their record. So my main focus is making sure that I remind myself every day that I'm a public service and that this office belongs to the citizens of Henry County. And that I am just lucky enough to get to manage and direct this ship during my tenure. But it belongs to the citizens, and I'm to be available and answering and accountable at every turn. And do my best to make my best decisions at every turn so that I can make the citizens of Henry County proud. And there was a young lady that asked a question about redistricting, and I can tell you redistricting directly affects my office because our local legislators fight for us at the state as they propose bills and changes in laws. So we have to take time to get to know any new electeds. So I hope that quickly answers the young lady's question.
All right. Miss Coleman Stribling from DeKalb.
There's two things I would want to tell the people of DeKalb County. One is that record restrictions is probably one of the things most people don't have a good understanding of. And let me be honest, it changed so much certainly within the last 7 to 10 years, but there was also another change in the law to record restrictions on the misdemeanor level. And so if you think that you have the ability or you have questions about it, my office is available. We have people there working who can address any of those concerns. And even if you want to apply for it, we're here to help. So that's the first thing. And I say that because the way that the record restrictions are allowed in misdemeanors is very new. That just happened within the last 2 years. And so people need to know that those things are available in some cases. The last thing I will tell the people of DeKalb County is there's a lot going on our streets. It is so important to get home and get home safely. There's a lot of road rage. There are a lot of people who did not do well during COVID. There's just a lot going on with a lot of people. Take a breath, leave a little bit early, or just be late. But get home and get home safely because we see it every single day. And there's not a day that does not go by that we have somebody who says somebody pulled a gun on me as I was driving because of a road rage incident. So just be safe, slow down, take your time, let them go by you. Because to me, it's more important to do that than to deal with whatever may happen afterwards.
Thank you. Mr. Brooks.
I would like to say first and foremost, I would like to thank the citizens of Clayton County for allowing me to be your Solicitor General. It is a sincere honor to sit in this seat as Solicitor General. And I know that every solicitor who sat in this seat has done things for this office to move it forward. I continue that legacy and try to move this office forward and try to do things that ensures the public trust and maintains the public trust. Right now, there's a lot of distrust of law enforcement and the judiciary. And I want to assure that our citizens that we are aware of the concerns, we're sensitive to the concerns, and we're doing everything that we can to address and alleviate those concerns. As we enter into these summer months, I would encourage people to, as Solicitor Coleman Stribling reference, to slow down. We are going into a high driving time of year, so I expect to see DUI count going up. But I want to remind folks to drive safe, be safe as you are entering into the summer months, as the students are leaving schools for vacation. Be mindful that it's better to get there late than not to get there at all. Additionally, during the summer months, we also see an uptick in domestic violence, and so I want to encourage our citizens to not suffer in silence. If you see something, say something. If my office or another prosecution office calls you as a witness, it's because it's necessary, and we have an obligation to one another to ensure that we all are safe and in the best possible health that we can be. And so again, I'll leave it with this. Thank you, Clayton County, for allowing me to be your Solicitor General. We are very much available anytime. And please follow us on Facebook. Can be found at CB Solicitor General to find out about the ongoings and occurrences, events that the office are participating in.
Miss Allaby, or on behalf of Mr. Gamage.
Thank you so much on behalf of the Honorable Mr. Keith Gamage. I want to thank you all for allowing me to be here. I want to thank our partners, our faith leaders. The strength of our office is our team and our partnerships and the relationships that we have within the judicial system and the justice system, and our partners in the community who help us provide resources to individuals that are affected by crime. We also, one of the big initiatives that Mr. Gamage pushes forward is to ensure that people who encounter the criminal justice system, that in situations where it is appropriate, it is just a speed bump and not a mountain that they cannot overcome. So we want to make sure that individuals know that when they encounter our office, we will look at all of the facts and circumstances of their case, do what is fair and just in every situation while protecting the public. As Solicitor Brooks stated, summertime brings high crime in a lot of situations, and we want our victims to be safe, individuals to be safe, and everybody in Fulton County and our surrounding counties to be safe. So know that you can be proactive in your circumstances. If there are resources out there, you can always contact our office. If you're experiencing something, if you're going through something, if you are the victim of crime, or if you just feel unsafe, you can contact us before a crime is committed. If you have any circumstances in your life that will suggest that you need some intervention, we are not just there after something happens, but you can always reach out to us before there is an incident as well. So I just wanted to thank everybody for allowing me to be here. And please know that Fulton County Solicitor General is here for you. We believe in accountability, but we also pour into the community equally so that we can enrich our community in the best way possible. Thank you so much.
I want to thank each and every one of you guys for coming on and being a part of this evening. As I've stated many times, I've had the pleasure of working with all four of you guys, and you're all phenomenal. And each county is blessed to have you in the positions that you are in. I look forward to starting July. I'll be president of the DA's Association. I don't know who's coming up from the SG's Association. Pam, I don't know if that's a good clap yet. Is it Chief Charles is going to? Are you going to be the president of the DA's? The SG's Association?
I will.
All right. So the Clayton County is going to rule. So this is going to be. Sounds a little scary, and then it's a little scary. But I think that between our four counties, I do believe that we are the Southern Crescent, and we're the jewel of the state. And I think the way we go, the state will go. And so I'm looking forward to all four of us collaborating. Well, actually, I guess it would be all eight of us, since with the DAs included, getting my other colleagues involved and making sure that we lock down the South Side of Metro Atlanta and provide the services and the knowledge that our people need. And hopefully, if we can start that fire here, then the North Side will catch on, and then the rest of the state of Georgia will see that sometimes you got to give a little love to our babies, and maybe they will respond in a more positive way, and we will have less crime. And because that's what I'm praying for. Less crime means less gray hair for me. I don't know about you guys, and a better night's sleep, because sometimes these crimes are so horrid that you do have nightmares about what you see. So that is definitely one of my goals. I'm thank you once again, and to everybody out in Cyberland, because we can't see you. Thank you for coming this evening. I hope that the panelists, what you've heard from the panelists was good and insightful, and you got to know your elected officials a little bit better. Please always reach out to us. We have, if you probably go to each county website, there's probably a tab to go to the DA's office, the solicitor's office in Henry, in Clayton, in Fulton, and in DeKalb. We all have social media handles, and it's probably on those websites. So please go there. We will answer an email probably a lot quicker than a phone call, because this is probably the longest we've been sitting at our desk, is this evening, because we're usually running to the courtrooms or putting out fires in the lobbies or dealing with our people. So please reach out to us. We're here. We will answer questions because we do work for you. And honestly, we are the last gatekeepers. If we fall, then chaos ensues. We keep you safe along with the police officers. So please don't be afraid of us. Reach out to us, tell us, and give us some ideas, because we don't know everything. We're always looking for more ideas to help our community, especially our young children, because, and you probably keep hearing us talking about young children because that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the babies, and that's where we want to get in and help. So we are open to any suggestions. But thank you for joining us this evening, and thank you for Cross Culture 365 and Community Social Justice Atlanta for hosting, for doing this. It's great. It's a great platform, and thank you for allowing us to speak to our communities. I think at this point we are out of time. So good night.